All right, good morning and welcome. It's Corporate Governance Platform brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. I'm Funmi Omoburiu. Today on the program, of course, we want to look at transparency and disclosure. Transparency and disclosure. And our guest this morning is Mrs. CHIOMA Angela OKEKE, ACIS. She's Vice Chairman of the Abuja chapter of ICSAN. She's a neutral at Abuja Multi-Door Court. Good morning, Mrs. OKEKE.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much for me. Thank you.
All right. Also with me in the studio, we have Mr. CHIOMA FCIS, Head of Research, ICSAN. Good morning, Mr. Ketefe.
Good morning, Fumi. Good morning to you, our guest, Mrs. CHIOMA Angela OKEKE, ACIS, and all our listeners. Good morning to you and all our Muslim brothers. Happy Eid al-Maulud.
All right, so we're going to take this message and we'll be right back.
The world is constantly evolving into a knowledge-based economy where skills and competencies constitute the lifeblood of public and corporate governance. You therefore need to empower yourself to fit into this new world by gaining basic knowledge and improving your skill set in the governance-focused disciplines. That is why every aspiring as well as practicing professional in governance field needs ICSAN.
ICSAN. What is ICSAN?
ICSAN is a leading statutorily established professional body dedicated to enhancing the status and practice of corporate governance and public administration. ICSAN members are trained as chartered secretaries and administrators.
Who are chartered secretaries and administrators?
Chartered secretaries are high-ranking governance professionals with a broad base of skills, unique amongst other professions. They are trained in law, finance, accounting, administration, strategy development, and corporate governance. In today's world, chartered secretaries and administrators discharge a wide range of duties and responsibilities, including functioning as chairmen of companies, executive directors, non-executive directors, company secretaries, risk managers, compliance managers, board evaluators, and corporate governance evaluators.
That is interesting. How then do I become a chartered secretary and administrator?
Good. Go to the Institute's website, www.icsan.org. You can also visit the National Secretariat of ICSAN at Plot 6, Elephant Cement Way, Alausa, Ikeja, Lagos, to get full information on how to become members. ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
All right, ICSAN, definitely the hub of governance professionals. It's corporate governance platform right here. And I said we're looking at transparency and disclosure. All right, Mr. OKEKE, let's look at it. What is transparency and disclosure?
Okay, these two terms, transparency and disclosure, are actually self-explanatory. However, I will explain what they mean based on, the current Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance, which was enacted in 2018. This act seeks to institutionalize corporate governance best practices in Nigerian companies. So under this act, under Part F and Principle 27 and 28, the issue of transparency and disclosure is covered. So I would like to explain what they mean based on the code.
Go ahead.
So transparency and disclosure basically means communicating and interacting with stakeholders. By stakeholders here, I mean investors, shareholders, and all that. So when you communicate and interact with these shareholders, so to keep them conversant with what is happening, the activities and all the happenings in the company. So in a nutshell, transparency and disclosure entails full and comprehensive disclosure of all material to investors and other stakeholders. That's what transparency and disclosure is all about.
All right, great. Now let's speak to the relevance of these two terms in the context of corporate governance. That's talking about transparency and disclosure, streamlining it to corporate governance.
Okay. Primarily, the relevance of transparency and disclosure is to assist stakeholders to make well-informed decisions. Secondly, they afford shareholders and investors to evaluate their investment. Remember, these stakeholders, they are putting their money in a company. So when you communicate with them, when you interact with them, they know what is going on in the company. So they're able to evaluate their investment, and also it aids them also to even for prospective investors and even the general public to assess the performance of a particular company. More importantly, the relevance of transparency and disclosure also is for proper monitoring of a company's implementation of the code, because the code has told you we want you to disclose particular information. So when you disclose, it helps us to monitor. It helps the stakeholders to monitor the implementation of the code, and also to identify when the activities of the company becomes a threat to good corporate governance practices. So it's relevant. They are relevant to governance. Thank you so much.
Is it possible for you to give us instances of situations desiring disclosure and transparent dealings in governance?
Yes, the code has actually made it very as clear as possible. It's very easy to assess what can be disclosed. So under that code, that's the 2028 code, which is what is applicable now, it has provided some instances for such disclosures. For instance, on the companies, the annual report, every company is supposed to file in their annual their report every year. So while filing that report, the code has provided that annual report that you file every year should disclose very clear information on the company's governance structures, policies, and practices, as well as environmental and social risk and opportunities. Let me just bring it home to us. So, for instance, if you are disclosing anything about the board of directors, you should be able to tell us what is the composition of the board of directors. You should be able to disclose their name, the names of the board of directors, as well as their appointment, induction, training process. If there are board committees existing, you should be able to tell us their names, that's the names of the members of the committee, their roles, their responsibilities, even the number of meetings they have attended. In addition, the company, you are supposed to disclose if there are external auditors, consultants. Also, we should be able to disclose the policies you have for ESG. We know ESG is environment, social, and governance issues. And of course, if you have policies on contracts, transactions, even policies on insider trading, and cases of conflict of interest, all this should be disclosed. But more importantly, there are two things I want to add. There's a particular information that most companies try to hide. For instance, their fines and penalty. A company is supposed to provide a list of all the fines and penalties, including dates, amount, and subject matters imposed on that company, maybe by any regulator. You're supposed to disclose that. But I want to also add that, under the code has provided that the board should use its best judgment. So let me put it like this. The board should use its best judgment to disclose any material matter, even though not specifically required by this code or by the code to be disclosed, if in the opinion of the board, such matter is capable of affecting the present or anticipated financial condition of the company or its status. In other words, what this statement is saying, what the code is saying is that even outside the things that the code has specified that directors or board of directors should disclose, if there are other things that the directors feel that is material that they need to disclose, they should also disclose that. So they should not limit themselves to these things I mentioned, which the code has listed. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Now, what are the harms in not fulfilling the disclosure requirements and ideals?
Okay, first and foremost, failure, because there's a code that regulates best corporate governance. So first and foremost, failure to disclose is a violation of that code, because you're not complying with the provision of that code. Secondly, Non-disclosure will mean that the stakeholders will not be able to make well-informed decisions. If they don't know what is happening, it's a harm to them. They will not be able to know whether to sell their investment or to go ahead to even invest more. So they're not able to make well-informed decisions. It's part of the harm. See also, when you disclose, when there's corporate disclosure, it encourages efficient management of enterprises. So, in other words, non-disclosure could signal that the board of directors are covering up some illegality, which may cost some loss to the stakeholders. And of course, this could lead to class actions and eventually cause damage to the company's reputation. So if some investors are not in the know of the happenings of the company, it could trigger distrust, which most often than not end in litigation. Of course, at the end of the day, damages the reputation of the company. So these are harms that could cause when the company do not communicate or interact. It could be a signal. They will not be able to you won't be able to know when a company is dying or ailing. That's why suddenly you see a company liquidating and all that. So it causes harm when companies do not disclose or, communicate with their stakeholders.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. CHIOMA Angela OKEKE, ACIS, Vice Chairman, Abuja Chapter ICSAN. Of course, she's also a neutral at Abuja Multi-Door Court. Thank you so much, Mrs. Angela OKEKE.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Fumi. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Ketefe, does ICSAN have guidance materials on issues bordering on disclosure and transparency?
Thank you very much, Fumi, for that question. The immediate response is a resounding yes.
Okay.
The Institute has a large body of literature on the theme of disclosure and transparency, which can guide a number of stakeholders on making informed decisions on this aspect of corporate governance. Not to be forgotten also is the fact that the Institute has a vibrant training department that offers numerous courses on all aspects of governance, all teams in governance, and of course, the issue of transparency and disclosure is a recurrent theme. I must also mention that corporate entities can also engage the Institute to give them bespoke and customized training on any team in corporate governance, disclosure and transparency, board evaluation, board effectiveness of the board, risk management, just name them. So the Institute has been doing this all over the years and has acquired a reputation as a solid provider of service on governance issue. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kadi Ketefe, FCIS, Head of Research, ICSAN. All right. Of course, the corporate governance platform returns again next week, Wednesday, 10:15 a.m., right here on ECHO 89.7 FM. I am Funmi Omoburiwo. Enjoy the rest of the day.
The world is constantly evolving into a knowledge-based economy where skills and competencies constitute the lifeblood of public and corporate governance. You therefore need to empower yourself to fit into this new world by gaining basic knowledge and improving your skill set in the governance-focused disciplines. That is why every aspiring as well as practicing professional in governance field needs ICSAN.
ICSAN. What is ICSAN?
ICSAN is a leading statutorily established professional body dedicated to enhancing the status and practice of corporate governance and public administration. ICSAN members are trained as chartered secretaries and administrators.
Who are chartered secretaries and administrators?
Chartered secretaries are high-ranking governance professionals with a broad base of skills, unique amongst other professions. They are trained in law, finance, accounting, administration, strategy development, and corporate governance governance. In today's world, chartered secretaries and administrators discharge a wide range of duties and responsibilities, including functioning as chairmen of companies, executive directors, non-executive directors, company secretaries, risk managers, compliance managers, board evaluators, and corporate governance evaluators.
That is interesting. How then do I become a chartered secretary and administrator?
Good. Go to the Institute's website, www.icsan.org. You can also visit the National Secretariat of ICSAN at Plot 6, Elephant Cement Way, Alausa, Ikeja, Lagos, to get full information on how to become members. ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.